Okay, let's go over what we have done so far. Now, we have taken the brake caliper off along with the mount that holds on the brake caliper, and we have taken off the top bolt here, and we have taken off the bottom bolt. You only have two bolts holding on the bracket, the mount, so we have taken off this bolt here too as well. So now if you only had to just do a regular brake caliper replacement without taking off the rotor, you will only need to take off these bolts right here, and you will need an Allen head tool to actually do that. And I will go over which tool you will need at the end of the video. I will have them all lined up, and just break those two loose, and you can just drop the caliper, free it from the mount to do a regular brake job. Okay. So what we're going to do now, we're going to pour this axle off. We're going to put a drain bucket underneath this axle because we will lose some gear oil. All right. Sometimes we get lucky. Let's see if I can get something to just take a hammer. There you go. And see, you can actually see we have some gear oil that's in there, and not too bad. Now what you want to do when you pour the axle out, you don't want to leave it laying on the floor. You want to lean it up against something, and the main thing is to have it sitting straight up. So we'll find an object here on the bed here to just keep it standing straight up. If not, it will actually bend on you. It could possibly bend on you. Okay, let me show you something here. There's actually a lock ring. Let me get a drop light. There's a lock ring, if you can see it there, that actually we're going to have to take a small screwdriver and pop that ring up. You can see it right there. Pop that ring up, and we can pull this ring out the way, and then we're going to take this nut loose, just knock it loose, and unscrew it right out, and the axle will just slide right out. But before you get the nut out, you got a dowel pin here, and that's what that spring was there for, to hold this dowel pin in place. Let's see here, let's get this out. There you go. There you go. Come on out of there. Come on out. Great, some needle-nose pliers. That's what you really need to have. Okay. There you go. Don't lose that. Let's see here. Now, let me get the tool and get the nut out. Okay, as you can see, these bearings can be, this bearing can be pretty tough to get out. All right, I gotta find a good spot to see here. Let's try this. Wow, just like that. Okay, wash your fingers. Okay, it's not too heavy. All right. Okay. Now, this is a good time, now that we have the rotor off, and you see what it looks like in the inside, and it definitely had to be changed. You can, well, it was wearing for a while. But on the bright side, this is a good time to replace the parking brake pads. So these are your parking brake pads. First time I ever seen this style was on a Corvette. All right, so we'll go ahead and get parking brake shoes, along with a new rotor, along with a new brake caliper and brake pads. Okay, so what we need to do now is separate the hub from the rotor. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to hit these lug nut stubs. We're going to knock them inward, and so we can separate the two items. What we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and soak these with PB Blaster, and so the rest of them will be a little bit smoother to come out. Okay, we got some PB Blaster here. Try not to breathe this stuff. This is good. Let them soak a little bit. Give them about an hour or two. Okay. I want to let it sit for about 5 minutes. Let's see what we got. Well, it's built already. Okay, what I want to do, some guys prefer to just leave this item alone, but I like to, since I have it off, I like to go ahead and just replace this seal. Why not? I mean, it's right here at you, and if there was something, you know, sometimes you can irritate this seal when you put it back on, that it can eventually leak, and that can be a bad thing. This, you know, and it's a lot easier to just replace it while you got it out. Now you have there's many tools that you can use to remove a oil seal, but I prefer to use this one here. And what I like to do is just stick it in between the bearing and the seal, and sometimes I get lucky and I just work it out, or sometimes I have to use the hammer to actually get it out. With this, I'm gonna have to use a hammer to get it out. Let's see here. It's trying to come. Okay. Well, I got part of it out. Yeah, just part of it. There we go. Let's get the other half out. This is a handy tool. There you go. That's the other half. All right, I can pull the bearing out, examine the bearing. The bearing looks great. Now in case you ever see any pivots on the bearing, you need to wash it off, actually. And I have a bar saw vat. I'm gonna wash it off. But if you ever see a bearing that has some pivot spots on it, replace that bearing. And examine the cup also that it sits in, and just make sure it's smooth and it has no wear and it's not scarred up or any pivot damage on the cup. So you definitely want to look at that while you have all this out. Okay. That looks pretty good there. Now, in order to get this bearing out, you will actually, and I really don't see any need doing that, but you actually need to get a punch and hit the corner here. And you can hit the corner here and hit the corner here, and you go back and forth till you work that cup out, and then the bearing will just drop out. Okay, right now we have the hub in the bar saw vat, and as you can see, the cup seems to be fine. So I'm just going to wash off this bearing because I got it a little dirty, and just want to make sure that it is good to go. And the bearing is definitely fine. I just want to make sure there's no dirt on it. Okay, we're going to put the bearing, inner bearing back in the hub. Me personally, I like to pat the bearing with some grease. I prefer to do that just to make sure it's well lubricated. And I just drop it back in. We have our new seal. And you make sure when you put it down, I like to get it flush, get it started, make sure it's flush. You can take a board, just a wooden board, and just knock it straight down. I made a tool here, but this tool is not exactly the size that I want it to be. Or you can take the old seal and use it to knock it down. And just go all the way around and walk it down. There you go. Okay, let's take off our parking brake. What I like to do is get needle nose pliers, regular pliers, widen the regular pliers so I can put around the cap here. Take the needle nose pliers, turn them so I can remove it. Again, we'll try to keep up with our parts. Let's see here. Barely see. Let's see here. I can see it now. I hope you can. There we go. And then okay, I apologize for the delay. I had to get the springs together and refocus the camera. All right, let's see here. What I'm going to do, first of all, make sure that you actually wear some type of mask. You see all this dust? This is asbestos, and you don't want to breathe none of that. So make sure you definitely be wearing a mask. And because I want you to keep your lungs healthy as possible. All right, let's see if we can get this out. Get a screwdriver. See if I can pry down here. There we go. All right. Okay. All right. All right. Try to keep them together and then just slide it right on out. There we go. All right. Put the new brake shoes on and we'll just go back, assemble the way we took them off. Okay, now that we got our parking brake shoes on, our new ones, really, the old parking brakes really didn't look no different than the new parking brake shoes. So if you don't have to buy the parking brake shoes, that is no problem. All right. Yeah, that's all we have to do for that. And we'll do the other side. That's what we need. All right, let's put a little grease where the seal will go. It don't hurt. And you can just use any kind of general purpose grease. That'll be fine. Okay. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, I put the brake caliper in a vise, and I took the boots off. And you need to use a 10 millimeter Allen to actually get these out, get these two bolts out. And I like to put like a little persuasion on it. There we go. Okay. So normally if you're just doing a regular brake caliper job, one thing you have to do is just pull these bolts out. Okay, now we just finish torquing this down. We'll tighten it down. Don't necessarily have to torque it. Just make sure it's good and tight. Like I said, once again, it's a 10 millimeter, and that's what you'll be using. All right, we'll put our caps back on. All right, we can put it back on the truck. Okay, now that we have our brake caliper loaded, we have the brake pads inside of it, and that's when you call it a loaded caliper. I put some raz in here just to keep the brake pads from sliding out. But I just want to point out one thing. We're going to have to pull off this yellow plug here, and to screw this hose back onto the caliper. Now, if in case you happen to experience your caliper leaking, there's a brass ring right here where my thumb is. There's a brass ring. Just replace that brass ring, because sometimes they will leak once they are taken apart from the brake caliper. But we're going to take a chance and just hope that it do not leak. But if it do leak, you need to replace that brass ring right there. All right. Okay, now we have got our rotor, and we're going to put back our studs. put a couple of them in to put one on each side to actually get it started. So as you can see, and then we will start knocking it in. I try to get a punch, and I believe in keeping my hands out the way, so I use some vice grips to knock it in. That's what you want. Let's go ahead and knock this other one in. There we go. All right, let you see what it looked like. And we'll go ahead and put the rest of them in. Then we can put our rotor back on. Okay. And you want to make sure your rotor is clean here, because this is where your parking brake shoes is going to go. You're going to put the rotor back in place. There we go. Okay. And if you're having problems putting your rotor back on, just back off your parking brake shoes, and just make sure it's lined up, and it'll go right in. Now we're going to put our lock nut in. There we go. Okay. We'll tighten that up. Okay, so now we got the nut tight as we can get it, and don't forget, you got your lock pin here. Put that in place. Make sure it goes all the way in, and then you got your spring. We have to put our spring back on to lock that in place. This is crucial. Okay. Okay. Now we can slide our axle back into place. Okay, we got our caliper on, and put our bolts in place. And make sure you get this caliper on real good and tight. What I'm going to do is, you see how hard it was for it to come off, so I'm going to make it real tight to go back on. And make sure we put a breaker bar on it.